Hello, I'm rocking the just woke up hair today. Do you like it? Funnily enough. Oh god, hang on. Sorry. Really tired. Really tiring day. Well, no, today hasn't been really tiring. Yesterday was really tiring. But it's so lovely to see family that it's totally worth it. I just get super tired. But I managed to have 2 naps today, which is like nearly impossible for me, which is brilliant. Right. Taz asked me. Oh, bung. That was. Hang on. Did you see how I managed to not swear then? I thought I pulled my. I got my bag of wee up, as I like to call it. Can you see? No, I don't really. I actually call. You've probably already heard me say this, but so that's the yellow bag is my bag of vitamins, and then my TPN is here. So I call it, when I've got both going, I call it the land of milk and honey. Sorry, I'm just trying to get it to stabilise. Yeah, so I got the land of milk and honey going in me at the minute. There's a TPN shortage in the country, and so the type of bag that I have, there are none in the UK at the moment. So rather than have a TPN bag that is infused with all my vitamins, I have to have my vitamins and glucose separately because there are no infused bags, which has absolutely nothing to do with Brexit apparently. Not really though, eh? Which is, yeah. So this is what happens, people. No. That's but one theory. Why, apparently. Anyway. So I got my vitamins going. Right. Taz asked, there was 3 of my friends and I were talking about Picc lines and lumens and midlines, and she was saying it would be really great to have like an explanation of what each one is. So people so this here in this arm. Oh, I tell you what, I'm just gonna take it out of there and out of the case. Bear with me. Look at my nose. Look at my nose. You get to look at my nose. Okay, here we are. We're very familiar now, if you've watched over the last month, with this is a Picc line, okay? This is a Picc line, which means the line goes into the vein and into an artery. So it goes right up my arm, into my chest, and into the artery going into the heart. That's a Picc line, okay? This bit here is the lumen. So I have a single lumen, which means that I have one access point where my TPN goes into. What would have perhaps been a more sensible idea is to put a double or a triple lumen on in the one vein, because then I could have fluids going, I could have my vitamins going, and I could have my TPN going all at the same time. This is where it gets really clever. You can also use your lumen, use your Picc line to take bloods. They put a syringe on the end of the lumen, draw it back, and you've also got an access for regular blood taking. How cool is that? So that's unfortunately, they only put a single lumen on, which is why I'm now in the position that I'm in, where all of my other veins have collapsed. And the only one that we could get in, I was here for an hour nearly with 2 intensive care doctors, because the only vein, and they used an ultrasound scanner to look for veins in my arms, and they could only find one workable vein, which is really common with people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome when we're in hospital for a long time and our veins are absolutely hammered. They don't like going straight to Picc lines though, because they go so deep into the arteries that it's a really great way getting sepsis, getting an infection into the body, which can turn into sepsis. On average, people that have a permanent Hickman line, which I'll explain in a minute, which is something else you need for TPN, get sepsis at least twice a year, apparently. So the Hickman line is a more permanent line that they put directly into your chest that goes into your heart. So you're bypassing all of this nonsense where it goes all the way up here, and it goes. It's like almost like a little button. It looks like on the chest. So if I do end up on TPM for the rest of my life, I'll have a Hickman line put in my chest. Okay, a midline. Here we go. Okay, there we are. This is where the honey's going in, although Amelia always calls it wee, but like I say. So this is the vitamin line at the moment. It looks sort of like a regular cannula, if you know anything about cannulas. However, it's very clever because they place midlines under an ultrasound. They use the ultrasound to guide it, which, how cool is that? And a cannula only goes in a very short way into the vein. A midline goes deeper into the vein. However, it doesn't go all the way to the heart or to the main arteries like a Picc line. Am I making sense, people? Does any of this make any sense? I hope so. So the midline will also hopefully last longer than a cannula. My veins are so poor that the cannulas were only lasting a few hours and collapsing. So the midline, because it goes deeper into the vein, hopefully it will get us through until they put another Picc line in on Friday. However, so I was on the emergency list for Monday to have the Picc line fitted, but you have to go into the theatre to have it done, and they didn't get round to me. So the intensive care doctors put the midline in to try and give me access until Friday when they can put a new Picc line in. But the anaesthetist came round today who said that they were going to do me as an emergency, but they didn't understand why the ICU doctors had put a midline in if I need a Picc line, because they're going to have to take the midline out for at least a couple of days before they can place a Picc line because of the risk of infection. So we basically have no idea now what's going on. He was like, I'm going to go and talk to your doctor, I'll be right back. That was 5 hours ago. So I think it's fair to say not going to see him again today. So the problem is, if they're going to have to take the midline out to give it a couple of days to rest before they do a Picc line, then I'm back to having no additional fluids and no vitamins or anything, which I've not had. I had them today and yesterday, but before that I hadn't had them for about 5 days because the veins kept collapsing. My ileostomy stoma output hasn't been as high today because I have been losing 4 litres, and nobody knows why, because I've only been getting 2.5 litres of TPN in, which the body has to work really hard to absorb because it's going into your heart. So, and I'm still peeing, and there's absolutely no way that I should be losing 4 litres when I've had no additional fluids go in because they couldn't get another line in. So yeah, we just don't know what's going on there. But they're keeping a really close eye on my kidney function, and at the moment my kidneys are okay, which is really good. Right, what else do we need to, what do I need to... Oh, thanks, Andrea, thank you. That's good, thank you. Andrew's just said that I'm describing it. I've just noticed that I'm not reading the comments. Yeah, Rachel, right. Yeah, Amelia definitely does have it right. It does look like we, which is a lovely thought. What do you have in your veins? Pee. Where are we? Okay, so... Oh! Right. I don't know who knows this and who doesn't. But Tony had his surgery today. Oh, Hayley, how funny. I was literally about to update everybody and you've put, how's Tony? So, as you know, probably, and if you don't, how not? Terrible person. No, I'm kidding. Tony has bladder cancer. He's been fighting for the last 18 months. Back in October, we found out that he has 5 new tumours. And he's had those removed and he's home. Hurrah! So it's so funny because everyone's been sort of saying to me, oh, how are you? How's today? You know, you all right? And I said, obviously I wish I could be there with Tony, and I wish Amelia didn't have to experience having 2 parents in hospital at the same time. That's horrific. However, surgery day isn't a bad day for us. Surgery day is the day that he has the cancer removed. Woohoo! The rest of the time is what sucks, is when it's growing back, and every 3 months he has to go for a scan and they keep finding more tumours. For the last 18 months, he's not had a single clean scan. Every time he goes, there are more tumours. So surgery day is a great day because technically the tumours have gone from his body. What we need is for them to stay gone. We need them to stop bloody growing back. But no, he said it went well. Obviously, they do the thing, they biopsy them and everything like that. Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, Hayley, that he's out the same day? It's amazing. So we've got to wait 3 months now. We have to wait 3 months between each scan. It's really frightening. And it sounds a bit silly when we explain it to people. People are like, that's nuts. But you have to give the tumours long enough to grow large enough to be removed, which is why he gets scanned every 3 months and not like every month or every, 2 weeks or something like that. Because even if they found the tumours, they would be too small for them to remove. So they have to wait 3 months for them to be large enough. Thank you, darling. For them to be large enough to... Sorry, that was me saying thank you to Hayley. Be large enough to remove. What else? So... Southampton, we asked months ago if they would extend my feeding tube into my intestines, and we got told no, because the chances are that the nerves will be damaged in the intestines anyway, that I could end up throwing up the line, and I've got lung damage because of the pneumonia. So if I threw it up and it ended up in my lungs and I got feed in my lungs, it would be really, really bad news for me. However, the first thing that Southampton said is, well, have you tried extending her tube? There's an idea. So, since I know that, and I know that the first thing that they're going to do when I get to Southampton is try extending my tube into the intestines so I can be fed into the intestines, which is much less dangerous than being fed into your heart. I've said, why can't we do it here whilst we're waiting for a bed? Because it's one less thing that Southampton have got to do, and it's one, like, hopefully it will take some time off of how long I'll have to spend in Southampton when I get there. So they weren't sure if they had an extension anywhere in the hospital. They do. Yes! So it's just really a case of waiting for the green light from Southampton to go ahead and do it, and getting me onto a list to be able to do it. I've got sort of 2 doctors that I see regularly, and one in particular I get on with really, really well. And it was so funny because I was saying to him, about could we do it and everything like that. And he goes to me, well, the only reason that we won't be able to do it is because, like if you're preparing food and, you put your own seasoning on, and it's better for you to season your own food than anybody else's. Because you see the whole thing right through to the end. They may want to do it and see what happens themselves. And I burst out laughing. And I said to him, are you really using like a food analogy with the woman that can never eat again? Like, it really made me laugh. Who does that? Oh dear, made me laugh anyway. And it made him really laugh as well, which was nice. And the student that was with him, which was really nice. Oh, God, it was so funny. Of all the analogies to use, why would you use a food analogy? Yeah, so I think that's sort of everything updated. Oh, Gabriella! Oh, guys, I'm doing Facebook Live. I'm going to have to thank you. Thank you, darling. Are you in here tonight?
I don't know if I'm with you, but I'm here. I will have to go to look on the board.
Okay.
I didn't look, but I'm coming anyway.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring some decoration as well, but I didn't know if they let you to put some or not.
Oh, I'll ask. I'm sure they will. Thank you. There's some nurses and healthcare assistants here that I get on really, really well with, and Gabriella is one of them. She keeps bringing me little presents. It's so sweet. She bought me a pair of Grinch slippers. It's oh god, it makes such a difference. And last week when I had the whole like unresponsive state thing that I still find a little bit hard to talk about, Gabriella, like the night after, I was so traumatized, and she just came and sat with me as long as she could, which was so sweet. She's just absolutely lovely. She's also bought me a magazine to read. She's lovely. And I think I spoke to you guys about a badger, didn't I? That one of them, I think I did. He's the, I can't get this, sorry, my brain's going all funny. He is the Badger of Courage. And I normally got him on all the time, but I took him off in the night because I kept jabbing myself with him. And yeah, he's my little reminder to be really brave. And he's holding a little red blanket, so when I'm not feeling so brave, he can come out and be like, get away, get away. But isn't that lovely? That's one from one of the nurses, Rachel. So sweet. So sweet. Yeah, so that's sort of where we are. I had an amazing day yesterday with my little niece and nephew, and then Tony and Amelia, but it did really wear me out. So today I've just sort of been in a not moving kind of state because I've just been so exhausted. But I'd rather be in agony and exhausted because I've spent time with my family than not be in agony and exhausted but not seeing anybody, if that makes sense. I'd rather make the physical sacrifice of suffering so that my mental health doesn't suffer, because I've been in hospital for so long now. I'm very aware that my mental health is beginning to suffer, and it's getting harder. I'm not saying I'm not being my normal self, my sort of cheery self, but it's getting harder to be. Does that make sense? It's getting harder to deal with the pain. It's getting harder to deal with the isolation. It's getting, it's tough, you know? So I'm doing my best to look out after my mental health. But obviously it's difficult. It's tough. And I have to talk about the tough stuff as well, guys, because I wouldn't be doing the whole reason that I do these broadcasts and the whole reason that I do YouTube is because I want to raise awareness about the reality of this disease for people, even though it makes me feel really vulnerable, like putting so much of myself out into the world. I do it because I want one person to feel like affirmed that their suffering, is as real as it can be with AIDS, because a lot of us are told for years and years and years that there's nothing wrong with us, and that has a huge effect on your mental health, trust me. And I think the world community are never going to know the reality of living with AIDS unless we tell you. So I do. It is like that whole mental health side. And the PTSD triggers, I had a huge trigger last week. So I'm feeling much more anxious than I have been. But I'm putting all my coping strategies into place, which is really good. And I've been talking with a couple of other people who have PTSD, and they're either going into hospital or they're in hospital at the moment. And I've been sharing my coping techniques with them, which also really helps my mental health, because, like I say, that advocacy work and everything that I do is my passion in life. It really is. And it's really hard when I become too unwell to stop supporting the community, because that has an enormous effect on my mental health. So being able to do that still is really, really cool, really, really good. I think that's everything. I think we're all sort of up to date, I think. Oh no, right, okay, here we go. I never really ask for people to, go and subscribe to my YouTube. However, if you could, I'd really appreciate it. Here's for why. I set the channel up for all of the reasons that I just spoke about. And I'm really nearly at 500. I've got like 486 subscribers. And it's not from a vanity point of view that I want to get to 500, but being able to make 500 people aware of AIDS, the disease and everything like that is absolutely like that.